Hey, what's good, everybody? I'd like to welcome you all back to the Boombox Guru channel. I'm your host, LB. So before I begin this video, I just want to ask if everybody could like the video, share the video, as well as subscribe to the channel because it does help out with this channel. So today's video, man, we're going to be talking about one of my favorite rap artists out right now. That is none other than Frisco Bay Area legend Larry June. I've been listening to his music a lot lately. And this particular Digging Through the Stats episodes, I'm going to be discussing four of his albums that I've managed to find on CD because Larry has a vast discography of studio albums, mixtapes, EPs, collaboration albums, and most of that stuff has only been released digitally. But he does have a few albums that he's put out on physical format, such as vinyl and CD. Most of the ones that he's put out in physical format are the ones that he distributed through Empire Records. But these four albums I just wanted to talk about and discuss, man, because I've been heavily listening to them, and I just think that there's great music. So just to give a little brief background on Larry June, he's a American rapper from San Francisco, California, better known as Frisco. He's originally from the Hunters Point neighborhood of Frisco. Around the age of 5, he moved to Atlanta, Georgia with his mother, where he stayed until 15. But even in that time, he was always frequently going back to visit the Bay Area during the summertime to visit family, and because his father was still residing out there. And being rooted in both Frisco and Atlanta, man, this has played a significant role in his unique style of blending Bay Area hip hop or mob music with the Atlanta trap sound. Larry started self-releasing mixtapes around 2006, but it wasn't until 2010 when he dropped his first official album called Cali Grown. Between 2018 and 2019, this will prove to be one of Larry's most prolific years, and you can even add the year 2020 in there as well, because he dropped several well-received projects within that 2-year span. I mean, 2019 alone, he dropped like several projects that were well received, and because of his grassroots approach of promotion and merchandising, man, he's managed to obtain a huge loyal fan base. He owns his own clothing line called Midnight Organic. He operates his own independent label called The Free Minded, and he's also had plans of even starting his own brand of oranges. A trademark of Larry June is oranges. If you notice, that's a part of his whole merchandise and everything like that. And he actually has a positive lyrical subject matter. You know what I'm saying? Like, he promotes a lot of healthy living and like financial literacy through his music. But he's one of the dopest rappers that I've gotten to discover, and I've really enjoyed his music, man. His music is just really great, and I'm glad to see like all the hard work and determination that he's put in has really paid off, man. I hope I can catch him live because he actually does come and do shows uh, in a city near me that's not too far from where I live at, man. But just one of the dopest artists that I've ever recently gotten into. I enjoy his catalog, so I just want to take the time to really kind of discuss a few albums that I own his on CD. So without further ado, we're gonna get into this video, me showing these four particular Larry June albums that I do own on CD. So stay right there, stay tuned, and we're gonna get right into this video. All right, so the first album on this particular video that I want to talk about is Larry's 2021 studio album called The Orange Print. And I believe that this was Larry's first album that he distributed through Empire Records. Everything he did prior was independently through his label of Free Minded. But yeah, The Orange Print, man, 2021. And this record, honestly, I think that this is one of his best albums in my opinion, man. When I first heard the album, it was a bit of a grower for me, but with repeated listens, I consider it to be one of his most consistent projects. I mean, I think the production on this album is really good, especially the tracks produced by Jake One. Those were the highlights for me. I really think that Larry June and Jake One should do a whole project together because Larry's style, it really was a good fit with Jake One's production. Whether they do an EP or a full studio album, man, I think that would be really dope. So my top songs from this album is Tangible Assets, Wait on Me, 6 a.m. in Sausalito, Intercepted, Organic Respect, You Gotta is actually one of my favorite Larry June songs, period. Grand Nash Chronicles featuring Trader Truth, Escrows and Orange Juice, Iced Coffee, and 7 Mile Bike Ride outro. So those are my top songs, and I believe I just named like 10 songs on a 13 track album. So that's really good. That's really good. So for the most part, man, this is just a really dope album. There's maybe like a couple of songs that I like, but they're not necessarily my go-tos. But you know, 10 out of 13 is pretty dope in my opinion. But a really good album. Definitely one that's worth checking out. Great production, great features and everything, man. So definitely check out the Orange Print, man. Really dope release from Larry June. Alright, so next album on my list, we're going to talk about Spaceships on the Blade, released in 2022. This is another really good project right here that I really enjoyed. This particular album is definitely one of my favorite Larry June albums. I mean, I really like it. For the most part, Spaceship expands upon the same formula presented on the Orange Print, which is Larry has this particular style where he blends Bay Area hip hop with the Atlanta trap sound. So it's a combination of both of the roots of him being from the Bay Area as well as his time spent in Atlanta, which is really dope. And I also will say that this was the album where Larry, he started to experiment with his sound a little bit. There's a couple of songs on here, Things You Do and For Tonight, which features Sid from the Internet, that was a part of the Odd Future Collective. That's Larry heading into neo soul territory. I mean, those songs are just pretty much R&B and neo soul. Larry doesn't even rap on those songs; he actually sings. And then there's another song on there called Brand New Machinery featuring Duckworth that has a Caribbean pop style that I thought was interesting. Those songs, they're not particularly my favorites, but I thought it was pretty cool to see Larry like take a risk and experiment with a sound. But I will say that the song For Tonight with Sid, depending on my mood, I would jam out to that song. So that's a bit of an honorable mention for me on this particular album. So my top songs on this album, man, I gotta tell you, man, this one was a little bit hard because I mean, I had so many top songs. It was almost the whole entire album. But my top songs are Private Valet, I'm Him, Don't Check Me, or the uncensored version, which is Check That B. Another Day Part 2, Corte Madera, California, Still Booming featuring 2 Chainz, which is actually not on the physical release. It's only on digital versions, which I kind of wish it had been on the physicals. I'll Make Time, In My Pockets, Appreciate It All, 5.0 Chronicles, which has Currency on it, Spaceships and Orange Juice, Organic Adjustments, Extra of featuring Babyface Ray, which is another digital exclusive, and Breakfast in Monaco, which features The Alchemist. And Breakfast in Monaco, that song was actually a teaser for the upcoming collaboration album between Larry June and The Alchemist, man. But yeah, Spaceships on the Blade, man, this is a really good record, man. I mean, Orange Print was a very great and consistent project, but I really think that Larry took it a step further, and you could say it was a slight improvement over Orange Print, man. But this one was really dope, man. I mean, 18 tracks, and shoot, I think I had just about half the album as my top songs. So that shows you just how good this record really was, you know. And even though I respect the songs that I named where he kind of experimented with the sound a little bit, I mean, those songs were good, but I just think sonically they didn't really fit within the context of the album. And another mention I would say about this album is that yeah, he does have that Bay Area Atlanta trap sound, but I think with this particular record, he leaned more into his Bay Area roots. I think a lot of the songs on here seem to have more of a mob music style to it, man. But in any case, man, one of my favorite Larry June albums. one of my favorites to spend a whole lot. I mean, I listen to this album quite frequently. So definitely check this out. And this is actually one of Larry's most popular albums. It's one of his most popular and best-selling records. So definitely check out Spaceships on the Blade. Really dope record. As you can see, he's got the oranges and everything like that. You know, that's a part of his old persona, his like trademark and everything like that. But a really dope record worth checking out, man. So definitely check out Spaceships on the Blade. Fantastic album. One of my favorites from Larry June. Okay, so next album we're going to talk about is The Great Escape with The Alchemist. This came out in 2023. I think this might have been one of the first Larry June projects that I really checked out when I decided to dig into his catalog. But yeah, this is a collaboration album with legendary hip-hop producer The Alchemist, man. Anybody that's a hip-hop head, you know, The Alchemist needs no introduction. We know the history. We know the credentials that he has. So I won't go too much into Alchemist, man. You can definitely look that up if you're not familiar with him. But The Great Escape is quite a different album from what we're used to from Larry. This isn't the signature Bay Area mob sound meets Atlanta trap sound. You know, Alchemist isn't that type of producer, man. You know, Alchemist utilizes a lot of soul samples, which gives this album a raw and gritty underground sound. He uses the drumless technique of looping a sample and letting Larry just rap over the loop with no beat, which is something that's actually become a bit of a new kind of thing in hip-hop, particularly this new era of underground hip-hop, where producers will just loop a sample and let the artist just rap over that sample, that loop sample. Alchemist is pretty much he's kind of a spearhead, in that movement. He didn't start it, but he's definitely one of the main producers within that whole realm of hip hop production. And this album, this is an album that you have to sit down and take in. It's definitely meant to be listened to as a whole and not to jump around from track to track. Because it just has a theme around it, man. The everything from the production and the samples and everything, it has a theme around it. So you can't really just skip around to it. You really got to just take this album in and listen to it. A lot of the longtime Larry fans didn't really take to this album that much. A lot of people online and stuff were like, hey, this really wasn't one of my favorites from him. Because most of them preferred his style on the prior albums, which in a lot of ways I kind of do too. That mob and trap sound. But I'm also a fan of The Alchemist and, what he does. So either way for me, man, I still dug it. And personally, I thought Larry sounded really good over Al's production. His vocals and his cadence, to me, it fitted perfectly over the soulful nature of the album. And if you listen to prior albums from Larry June, he's gonna have at least one or two soulful kind of sample songs on there. So you could kind of look back on some of those projects and you can tell that Larry was eventually going to get to this point. I just think a lot of the fans weren't ready for a whole project like that. But I think in years' time, people are going to look back on this as a bit of an underrated classic. To me, The Great Escape, this was a way for Larry to tap into that indie underground hip hop market. And I think he did a great job. I think this album is actually one of Larry's most popular. I think it charted pretty high on the Billboard charts, if I remember seeing it, man. But I know he definitely made his mark with like the underground indie hip hop fans with this record from the research that I done. So he did his thing. If that was his whole intention, it was like tapping into that market. He did it definitely. So my top songs from this album, and this was a little bit hard. It was a little bit hard for me to really single out my top songs because, like I said, this is a project that you really have to sit back and listen to. So my top songs are Turkish Cotton, 89 Earthquake, Palisades, California featuring Big Sean. Dude, I used to be a huge Big Sean fan back when he first came out, like in the late 2000s. I kind of fell off of him after that Finally Famous album. But his verse on this song really makes me want to reconsider doing that. I really want to go back and start digging into the Big Sean music that I missed out on. Summer Rain featuring Ty Dolla $ign, Orange Village featuring Slum Village, which is probably like my number one song on this record. That song is just so fire. Portions in Spanish. What Happened to the World featuring Wiz Khalifa. Wiz Khalifa did such a great job, man. Like, I used to be really into Wiz Khalifa, like more so his mixtapes. But when he does songs like this, Wiz is just a beast. Barrigan Lightning featuring Joey Badass and Currency, which is another knocker. Art Talk featuring Bodie James. Shout out to Bodie James from Detroit. And Left No Evidence featuring the legendary Evidence of Dilated Peoples. So, like, and to tell you the truth, man, there could have been more songs in here I could have added, man. But these were the ones that immediately kind of stood out to me the most when I went back and revisited this album. Now, even though I like this record, even though I do like The Great Escape, I will say this. If you're new to Larry June, I would not recommend starting with The Great Escape. And the reason why is because, like I said, man, this is not a project that you can that's going to really grasp you on first listen. You really got to sit back and listen to this record. Like, it's one of those records you put on if maybe you decide to clean your house one day or something like that, or you're cooking dinner, or even, if you're somebody that smokes. I'm not into that, but if you're somebody that is, you got a free day and you just want to kick back and smoke, this is the type of record that you kind of put on. You really have to sit down and take this record in. So my suggestion would be going with the other projects on this list, or the slew of other projects that I haven't talked about, like mainly from that 2018-2020 era. So those records are probably more easier gateway into Larry June's music. Because I actually, like I said, The Great Escape was actually one of the first projects that I checked out of his, and I remember I liked it, but I wasn't totally sold on getting into Larry June's music at that point. It was actually like Spaceships on the Blade and the Orange Print. Those were the ones actually that did it. So yeah, start with one of those, or even one of the ones prior from 2018 to 2020. But yeah, it would just be better to just kind of start earlier and then work your way up to this. I think you would appreciate it much better if you just start with the other ones and work your way up. But don't overlook this album, because it's still a classic, especially for people that's a fan of The Alchemist, that's a fan of that underground kind of raw, gritty, soul, like sample based hip hop. This definitely will be in your wheelhouse. So definitely check this out and don't skip it, because in my opinion, it is a classic. So Larry June, The Great Escape, 2023. Definitely check it, give it a listen, man. All right, so the last album on this list that I want to talk about is Larry's most recent record. It's another collaboration album. That is The Night Shift with Cardo, released in 2023 as well. I forget when this came out in 2023. Might have been towards the end of 2023. I'm not sure. But yeah, this is a collaboration with him and producer Cardo. Man, Larry June and Cardo, I think this might be their fourth or fifth collaboration, because they've done a few other ones in the past, man. One of my favorites from them is Cruise USA. And then I think there's a couple of other ones that they did. But anytime Larry June and Cardo collaborate with each other, man, it's always a classic, man. Like, all their collaborations are just classics, and The Night Shift is another one to add to that bunch. The Night Shift, I gotta say, man, this is another favorite of mine. And I think it might be Larry's best project thus far. And on any given day, man, I might call it my favorite Larry June project. I might put it over Spaceships on the Blade. To be honest with you, man, very consistent, man. If you know anything about Cardo, he's got a particular sound that's influenced by Bay Area mob music, and it's very consistent throughout. Like, so for this album, Larry returns to that signature Bay Area hip hop meets Atlanta trap sound, but with Cardo and producer, man, it's definitely more mobbing. The beats are definitely more mobbing, and I think that this is an overall a fantastic project from start to finish, and it has a high replay value for me, man. I think, honestly, I think I'm just gonna go ahead and say that The Night Shift is my favorite from him so far. I'm just gonna go ahead and say that, because I do listen to this a whole lot, and there's not too many songs on this album that I skip. There may be like 2 tracks on here that aren't too crazy about, But everything else on here is just straight like bangers from start to finish, man. So my top songs on this album, and kind of like Spaceships on the Blade a little bit, man. But we're gonna go with Clocked In, Chops on the Blade, Ocean Cuisine featuring 2 Chainz, Love of Money, Pop Out, Glass House Knocking, which is another favorite Larry June overall song for me. GRGP with Too Short and Peasy, Sticking and Moving, Let Me Know, Made Away, which I think has Payroll Giovanni on it, Road Running, Big Fish, The Good Kind, and The Great Escape featuring The Alchemist, which was it's a digital exclusive. Yeah, that's a digital exclusive. I don't know, man. I don't know why that song wasn't on the Great Escape album, and I kind of wish it would have been on the physical version of this album because it's a really great song. But yeah, pretty much majority of the album is like my top songs. I think there's like a couple of R&B flavored tracks on here that they're decent, they're cool, they're solid songs, but they're not exactly my favorites, man. But everything else on here is just straight up banging. Like definitely my favorite project. I know I said Spaceships on the Blade earlier, but I think I would put The Night Shift over Spaceships on the Blade, man. Like I have to agree, and I think a lot of the Larry June fans have the same opinion as me that this is his best project thus far. So I'm looking forward to what he's gonna do next, man. But until then, The Night Shift, good job, Larry. You know what I'm saying? You did your thing. You and Cardo did y'all thing on this album, man. Y'all turned out another classic. So I'm looking forward to another collaboration album between Larry June and Cardo because I know that it's gonna be a banger. I know it's not gonna be a disappointment. And yeah, man, just check this album out if you don't know what I mean, man. From start to finish, phenomenal record, fantastic record. You know what I'm saying? They did their thing on this, man. So definitely check out The Night Shift if you haven't already. And I think that this was actually the album that I listened to that really like made me become a fan. Like I was liking Larry June, but this was the one I heard that was like, man, I really got to dig into this guy's music, man, because he's that guy right now. So check this out if you haven't already. Some great music, man. Alright, so that's it for this video, man. Digging Through the Stacks episode 3, focusing on Larry June. Man, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope you guys, or you all that's out there watching, will take the time to go check out some of these Larry June albums if you haven't. I'm telling you, man, Larry June, he's that guy right now. He's one of the best hip-hop artists out there right now. He's really killing it, man. I mean, he's like a rock star. He's got such a huge fan base, and everything that he's achieved, all the accolades that he's received, man, is well deserved. He put in a lot of work to get to where he is now. I'm glad to see somebody from the Bay Area to do it as big as he has. I'm not from the Bay, I'm not from California, but I'm just a huge fan of West Coast hip hop. So anytime I see artists emerge from that scene that resonate with me, that's doing it on a major level, I gotta support. So a big shout out to him, big shout out to the whole movement he's got going on, and I wish him much success in his career, man, because I think it's only up from here, man. I recently saw how he was at the Rolling Loud festival this year, man, and man, he rocked that stage, man. It was that whole entire crowd, that whole entire audience was just in tune with everything that he was doing, man. So big shout out to Larry. Good job, Larry. Keep doing your thing. Yee. That's a little trademark that Larry June does in his music, the yee. But mine was a little weak, man. But still, man, a big shout out to Larry June, man. Keep doing your thing out there. If you did enjoy this video, once again, just hit that thumbs up, give me a like, as well as share the video and subscribe to the channel, because it does help me out a lot. I want to give a big shout out to everybody that has already subscribed to the channel. People who are commenting on the videos, giving me positive feedback, people that are just supporting me. I really do appreciate it. It does not go unnoticed. And as always, I want to wish everybody a blessed day and a blessed week, and love, peace, and music. Peace out, y'all.